Wrong in tone, wrong task, wrong end.
Should you win this legal battle, I shall step down from my judicial role. These pronouncements from Judge Raymond Whitmore struck Maya Williams before an assembly of onlookers, plunging the courtroom into a profound silence. Subsequently, hushed murmurs began to ripple through the space as individuals turned their gazes toward the young black woman positioned alone at the plaintiff's table. It was readily apparent to all present that this was intended as a public act of degradation. Whitmore reclined in his chair, observing her with a cool, amused expression. "If you falter," he added, his voice carrying a subtle challenge, "you might need to reassess your suitability for this chosen path." A smattering of laughter followed. At the opposing counsel's station, Daniel Mercer offered a smug grin. Maya felt a constricting sensation in her chest. She still possessed the option to request a postponement. No one would fault her for such a decision. Her presence there was entirely due to the lead counsel's sudden incapacitation prior to the hearing, thrusting the case into her inexperienced hands at the 11th hour. However, if she were to withdraw now, the culmination of all her endeavors might be jeopardized. Her thoughts turned to her mother, toiling through the late hours cleaning office buildings so that Maya could pursue her education. She envisioned the residents of her neighborhood who had pooled their resources to purchase her textbooks, offered fervent prayers for her success, and proclaimed to all that Maya Williams would one day emerge as the champion for those overlooked by the system. To them, she represented more than just a nascent attorney. She was tangible proof that an individual from their community could achieve prominence. To yield now would be a betrayal not only of herself, but of all who had placed their faith in her. If the fortitude displayed by Maya resonates with you, please express your support by liking this post, honoring those who have had to strive twice as hard merely to be acknowledged, and share your location in the comments, as someone near you might be standing in solidarity with Maya in spirit this very evening. Maya raised her chin. "No, Your Honor," she declared. Whitmore narrowed his eyes. "No. What?" "No postponement. I am prepared to proceed." This statement elicited surprise throughout the courtroom. Whitmore's smile re-emerged. "Very well. Let us commence." Daniel Mercer initiated the arguments. He characterized the claim of wrongful conviction as utterly without merit. He asserted that the matter had been resolved years prior. He contended that the plaintiff lacked any legal basis to reopen the conviction. Upon concluding his remarks, he resumed his seat, a look of satisfaction on his face. Whitmore then turned his attention to Maya. "Your turn." She rose to her feet. Her hands quivered. Then, gripping her mother's pen more firmly, she stepped forward. "Your Honor, this case is not about dredging up past grievances. It is about rectifying a falsehood." The room quieted. Leonard Brooks endured 22 years of imprisonment because crucial evidence was withheld from the defense and witness testimonies were deliberately concealed. Mercer immediately stood. "Objection." "Sit down," Whitmore commanded. Mercer blinked and retreated back to his chair. Maya continued. "The city wishes this court to believe that justice was administered because procedural norms were observed. However, procedure becomes meaningless when truth is intentionally obscured." She lifted a document from her file. "This witness statement was recorded 3 days before the original trial. It names another suspect. It was never disclosed to the defense." This revelation shifted the atmosphere in the room. Mercer stood once more. "Objection. That document is not properly before this court." "It was suppressed," Maya stated firmly. "Because someone intended for it to be suppressed." Whitmore's expression flickered for a fleeting moment, but Maya perceived it. Fear. He struck the gavel. "This court will adjourn until tomorrow morning, pending a review of the newly presented evidence." Gasps swept through the room. Individuals rose immediately. Reporters hurried out of the doors. Mercer appeared visibly unnerved. Whitmore rose from the bench and retreated into his chambers without another word. Maya sat down slowly, her breathing ragged. Benjamin Hayes approached as the room began to empty. He stopped beside her. "Do you comprehend the significance of what just transpired?" he inquired. Maya shook her head. Benjamin glanced toward the judge's vacant bench. You unnerved him. Maya frowned. The judge? Benjamin nodded. He did not confront you directly because he underestimated your strength. Maya stared at him. Benjamin lowered his voice. He challenged you because influential individuals only target those whom they perceive as a threat. Maya looked towards the empty bench, then down at the evidence still clutched in her hand, and for the first time, a profound understanding dawned upon her. Judge Raymond Whitmore's attempt to humiliate her was not born from a belief in her impending defeat. It stemmed from a deep-seated terror of her potential victory. Maya did not depart the courthouse with the dispersing crowd. She remained in the vacant conference room adjacent to courtroom 7B, scrutinizing the witness statements spread across the table as the adrenaline from the hearing gradually subsided. Benjamin Hayes closed the door behind him. Do you now grasp the implications of this? He asked. Maya looked up. That Whitmore panicked. Benjamin gave a single nod. Judges of his stature do not exhibit panic over commonplace evidentiary matters. Maya gazed at the document once more. Then why did he? Benjamin pulled up a chair and sat opposite her. Because that statement should not have been in your possession. The words settled heavily between them. Maya frowned. What are you implying? I'm implying that someone deliberately concealed that evidence 22 years ago, Benjamin stated. And if Whitmore reacted so strongly upon its sight, there's a significant probability he knows precisely why. Maya felt a knot tighten in her stomach. He was complicit. Benjamin offered no verbal response. His silence was eloquent. Maya leaned back slowly. The possibility had begun to form in her mind during the proceedings, but hearing it articulated aloud made it undeniably real. Judge Raymond Whitmore was not merely exhibiting bias. He might be directly connected to the original miscarriage of justice. Benjamin folded his hands. If that is indeed the case, this transcends a mere courtroom dispute and becomes something far more substantial. Maya met his gaze. Then we shall prove it. Benjamin studied her for a considerable moment before nodding. An excellent response. He slid a thick file across the table. The original prosecution archive. I retrieved it from record storage before it could be made to vanish. Maya opened it. With inlaid transcripts, police reports, trial notes, internal memos, and prosecutor filings pertaining to the original Brooks case. Benjamin rose. You have until tomorrow morning before Whitmore regains complete control of that courtroom. If there is anything linking him to this, you must uncover it tonight. With that, he departed. Maya spent the ensuing 4 hours poring over the file, page by page. Initially, it appeared to be standard trial documentation. Witness testimonies, police statements, procedural motions. Then, she discovered it. A suppression order. Her eyes narrowed. It bore a date 6 days prior to Leonard Brooks' original trial. The signature at the bottom read, Assistant District Attorney Raymond Whitmore. Maya froze. Her pulse quickened. Whitmore had been one of the prosecuting attorneys. He had personally authorized the order to exclude critical defense evidence from the trial. She flipped through the subsequent pages with increasing rapidity. Another memo, then another, each bearing his name, each implicating him more deeply in the case than had ever been disclosed. Benjamin had been correct. Whitmore was not merely presiding over this hearing, he was acting as judge in a case he had played an integral role in constructing. Maya seized her phone and dialed Benjamin. He answered immediately. Tell me you found something. I found everything, Maya replied. Whitmore prosecuted Brooks. A silence ensued. Then Benjamin exhaled. God help him. The following morning, courtroom 7B was even more crowded than the previous day. Word had spread like wildfire. The attendees were no longer present to witness the downfall of a young attorney. They were there to observe the unfolding of events. Whitmore emerged from his chambers, his demeanor as composed and controlled as ever. Yet Maya immediately discerned a difference. He appeared fatigued. His eyes, however, were sharper, more alert. He understood the gravity of the situation. As proceedings commenced, Mercer rose. Your Honor, before we continue, The city formally moves to strike yesterday's submission in its entirety and requests sanctions against plaintiff's counsel for introducing improper and prejudicial material. Whitmore directed his gaze to Maya. Response? She stood. The city wishes to strike this evidence because it cannot provide an explanation for it. Mercer interjected. Objection. Whitmore overruled him without hesitation. Maya continued. Furthermore, Your Honor, the plaintiff requests disclosure of all prosecutorial personnel involved in the original Brooks conviction, including any members of the district attorney's office who participated in suppression decisions. This statement caused a minute alteration in Whitmore's countenance, perceptible to all. Mercer immediately stood. Objection. Relevance. Maya ignored him, her focus solely on Whitmore. It directly pertains to the plaintiff's assertion that exculpatory evidence was deliberately suppressed by state actors who were fully aware of its significance. Whitmore's jaw tightened. He stared at her for 3 full seconds before responding. Denied. The room buzzed with murmurs. Maya spoke again. Then let the record reflect that the court has denied the disclosure of prosecutorial involvement in the suppression of evidence material to this motion. Whitmore's eyes narrowed. Noted, Miss Williams. Benjamin, now seated behind her, leaned forward slightly. He's rattled, he whispered. Mercer resumed his argument, but his delivery was disjointed. His confidence from the preceding day had evaporated. He was no longer merely defending the city. He was safeguarding something. The hearing continued for another hour. Each time Maya attempted to probe the issue of prosecutorial misconduct, Whitmore shut her down with increasing speed. Every ruling favored the defense. Every objection raised by Mercer was sustained. Every effort Maya made to expand the scope of discovery was denied. Benjamin leaned in during a recess. He's attempting to bury it before you can establish the record. Maya nodded. I understand. Then stop playing his game. She frowned. Meaning? Benjamin's eyes hardened. Stop proving misconduct in theory. Prove his direct involvement. That afternoon, Maya left the courthouse and proceeded directly to the county archives. She requested personnel records from the district attorney's office from 22 years prior. The clerk initially resisted, but Maya persisted. 2 hours later, she had obtained what she needed: employment rosters, case assignments, internal staffing logs. Every document corroborated the same fact. Raymond Whitmore had served as the lead assistant prosecutor on the Brooks case. Not a secondary role, not a peripheral involvement, but the lead. He had orchestrated the case's prosecution. Maya stared at the records, her mouth suddenly dry. This was far more significant than she had initially believed. The man endeavoring to dismantle her career was not protecting the system, he was protecting himself. Her phone vibrated. Benjamin. Well, he wasn't just involved, Maya stated. He led the prosecution. Benjamin fell silent. Then he exhaled. That means if Brooks is exonerated, Whitmore goes down with him. Benjamin completed her thought. Precisely. That night, Maya returned to the office and worked until close to midnight. She meticulously organized every record, every suppression memo, every staffing assignment, every signature, and every timeline discrepancy. Then, the office door opened. Harold Benton, one of the senior partners, entered. He closed the door behind him. Maya, he said, his tone immediately signaling trouble. She looked up. We need to discuss this. He sat down across from her. The firm is concerned. Concerned about what? About the direction this is taking. Maya stared at him. You cannot be serious. I am entirely serious. His voice remained level. You are accusing a sitting federal judge of misconduct directly linked to a wrongful conviction. This carries significant political repercussions. He prosecuted the case. Allegedly. And you have documentation, Benton countered. The managing partners believe it would be prudent to narrow the scope of your argument tomorrow. Maya stared at him in disbelief. You want me to back down? We want you to focus on overturning the conviction, not on making accusations that could potentially harm this firm. Maya stood. A man lost 22 years of his life due to corruption, and if you confront Whitmore directly, You may lose everything before you even establish a single fact. Maya's jaw tightened. So the firm is intimidated. Benton also stood. The firm is pragmatic and realistic. He moved towards the door, then paused. This profession rewards survival, Miss Williams. Learn that lesson early. Then he departed. Maya remained standing alone in the office, a surge of fury coursing through her. Benjamin entered minutes later. He had overheard the conversation. He threatened you? No, Maya replied. He warned me to prioritize survival. Benjamin offered a wry smile. That's what cowards call strategic retreat. Maya sank back into her chair. They want me to stop. Benjamin looked at the files spread before her, then at her. Are you going to? Maya's thoughts turned to Leonard Brooks. 22 stolen years. She thought of her father, of every black family in her neighborhood who had ever confided that the legal system was never designed for them. She remembered Whitmore looking down at her as if she were insignificant. Then she looked up. No. Benjamin nodded. Good. He leaned forward. Because tomorrow, Maya, this ceases to be about winning a case. She met his gaze. It becomes about exposing a system. Benjamin's voice lowered. And systems do not yield without a struggle. Maya looked down at the stack of evidence before her, at Whitmore's name appearing repeatedly, the signatures, the memos, the irrefutable proof. Then, for the first time, she fully grasped the truth. The most dangerous individual in that courtroom was not the city attorney. It was the judge, and tomorrow she intended to hold him accountable on the record. Maya arrived at the courthouse before dawn. She desired the extra hour, not to refine her argument. She had already done so 3 times over. She sought the quietude because once she re-entered courtroom 7B, the true conflict would commence. Benjamin was already waiting outside when she arrived. He handed her a coffee and walked beside her toward the security checkpoint. Did you sleep? He inquired. Not much. Good, he stated. It indicates you comprehend the stakes involved. Maya gave him a look. Is that your pep talk? Benjamin shrugged. You do not require comfort. You require clarity. They entered the courtroom together. It was more crowded than on either of the previous days. News of the impending confrontation had spread beyond legal circles. Now the gallery was packed with reporters, law students, courthouse staff, and attorneys from other floors feigning nearby business. Everyone was eager to witness whether the young black attorney would truly challenge one of the state's most powerful judges. Whitmore entered precisely at 9 o'clock. He appeared composed and controlled, but Maya noticed the immediate way his eyes found hers. He knew what she had discovered. The bailiff called the room to order. Whitmore sat. Proceed. Mercer rose first. Your Honor, before the plaintiff continues this charade, the city reiterates its motion to strike all speculative accusations against this court and moves for sanctions against plaintiff's counsel for misconduct. Whitmore looked down at Maya. Miss Williams, she stood. Your Honor, the plaintiff has no intention of making speculative accusations. She paused. Only documented ones. A murmur rippled through the courtroom. Whitmore's face hardened. Be cautious, counsel. Maya reached into her file. The plaintiff submits employment records from the Cook County District Attorney's Office confirming that Your Honor, Raymond Whitmore, served as lead assistant prosecutor in the original prosecution of Leonard Brooks. The courtroom erupted. Voices rose instantly. Mercer shot to his feet. Objection! Whitmore slammed the gavel. Order! The room quieted, though only barely. Whitmore stared down at Maya with undisguised fury. You are now perilously close to contempt, Miss Williams. Maya did not sit. With respect, Your Honor. The plaintiff believes the court has a duty to disclose any prior involvement in a matter over which it presides. Whitmore's voice lowered. Sit down. No, Your Honor. Another wave of whispers ensued. Benjamin remained still behind her, but Maya could feel his focus like a guiding hand on her back. Whitmore leaned forward. You are accusing this court of ethical misconduct. I am stating for the record, Maya said, that the presiding judge in this matter failed to disclose his direct prosecutorial role in the underlying conviction now under challenge. Mercer stood again. "This is outrageous." Maya turned toward him. "What is outrageous is 22 years in prison built upon suppressed evidence." Mercer fell silent. Whitmore's face darkened. "You have finished speaking." Maya met his eyes. "No, sir, not yet." The room held its breath. No one dared speak to Raymond Whitmore in such a manner. Not in his courtroom, not from that floor. Whitmore's voice became icily calm. "Bailiff." The bailiff stepped forward. Benjamin stood instantly. "Your Honor," he stated sharply, "if this court intends to remove opposing counsel for placing judicial conflict on the record, I will personally ensure the Judicial Review Board receives that transcript before sunset." The threat resonated. Whitmore stopped. Everyone observed it. For 3 seconds no one moved. Then Whitmore slowly sat back, his jaw clenched. "Proceed with caution." Maya placed the next document on the evidence table. Plaintiff further submits suppression orders signed by Assistant District Attorney Raymond Whitmore 6 days before Mr. Brooks's original trial, orders excluding witness testimony identifying an alternate suspect. Mercer's face paled. Whitmore remained motionless. Maya continued, "And because Your Honor denied discovery into prosecutorial involvement yesterday, the plaintiff now moves for immediate recusal and reassignment of this matter to an independent judge." This sent the courtroom into renewed chaos. Whitmore struck the gavel repeatedly. "Enough!" His voice thundered through the room. Then he looked directly at Maya. "Motion denied." Gasps echoed. Benjamin stood. "On what grounds?" Whitmore's eyes remained fixed on Maya. "On the grounds that the plaintiff has not established actual prejudice." Maya felt her anger surge. "Your Honor, you prosecuted the case." The words struck like a blow. Whitmore leaned forward. "Do you know how many cases I prosecuted before becoming a judge? That is irrelevant." "No, Miss Williams," he snapped. "What is irrelevant is your pathetic attempt to transform this hearing into political theater because you cannot win on the merits." The insult was deliberate, public, and calculated. He was attempting to reassert control. Maya understood this. So did everyone else. Whitmore continued, "You are a junior attorney out of your depth, attempting to weaponize procedure against individuals who built this system before you were born." Silence followed. Then Maya stepped closer to the podium. "With respect, Your Honor," she said, holding up the suppression order, "if this system was built by men who buried evidence and sent innocent people to prison, then perhaps the system deserves to be challenged." The room fell dead silent. Whitmore stared at her, his mask cracking for a fleeting second, but long enough for Maya to see pure rage. He struck the gavel with such force that the sound reverberated. "Court recessed for 1 hour." He stood and stormed into chambers. The moment he disappeared, the room erupted. Reporters rushed for the hallway. Attorneys whispered furiously. Mercer looked as though he wanted to end her. Benjamin grabbed Maya's arm. "Come with me." He pulled her into an empty conference room and shut the door. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Benjamin let out a breath. "You just forced him into a corner." Maya nodded. "He denied recusal because if he steps down now, he admits conflict." Benjamin paced once. "That means he's desperate." Maya sat down heavily. "What happens next?" Benjamin stopped pacing. "He retaliates." Her stomach tightened. "How?" Benjamin looked at her as if on cue. Maya's phone buzzed. She checked it, then froze. Her face drained of color. Benjamin stepped closer. "What is it?" She turned the screen toward him. An email from managing partner Harold Benton. "Effective immediately. You're removed from active representation in Brooks versus City of Chicago pending internal review of professional conduct." Benjamin's expression darkened. "He contacted the firm." Maya stood up so abruptly her chair nearly tipped. "They're pulling me off the case." Benjamin nodded grimly. Whitmore, or someone in his circle, made the call. "No." Maya grabbed her files. "No, they don't get to do that." Benjamin gently blocked the door. Maya, no. Her voice began to shake. They don't get to wait until I've finally cornered him and then take it away. Benjamin watched her, then slowly smiled. Good. She blinked. What? That anger, he said. Keep it. You'll need it. He pulled out his phone. I still have partnership authority on emergency litigation assignments. Benton can try to remove you from the firm's representation, but he can't stop the plaintiff from requesting personal counsel. Maya stared. Leonard Brooks has the right to select his own legal representation. Roughly 1 hour later, Leonard Brooks himself signed the necessary documents to change counsel. Maya remained the lead attorney. By the time the court session recommenced, word had spread throughout the entire courthouse. Whitmore entered, his demeanor even more frigid than before. He had anticipated her departure. Her continued presence unsettled him more than he cared to admit. The bailiff called the courtroom to order. Whitmore took his seat and then looked directly at Maya. You are remarkably persistent, he stated. Maya met his gaze. As is the truth, she replied. His jaw tightened. In that precise moment, Maya grasped a crucial understanding. She had crossed a threshold. The matter could no longer be resolved amicably. There would be no compromise, no yielding, and no professional courtesy. From this point forward, it was a battle of attrition. Either she would dismantle Raymond Whitmore's career, or he would destroy hers, and both of them were acutely aware of this impending confrontation. Judge Whitmore wasted no time in retaliating. The instant the court reconvened, he shed any pretense of impartiality. Every objection raised by Daniel Mercer was upheld before Maya could fully articulate her point. Every argument she presented was interrupted. Every piece of evidence she attempted to introduce was challenged, delayed, or outright prohibited. By midday, it was evident to everyone present what was transcatting. Whitmore was no longer attempting to conceal his prejudice. He was actively punishing her. Objection. Argumentative, Mercer stated, and Whitmore responded, sustained. Whitmore's voice was sharp. Maya took a slow, deliberate breath. Your Honor, she began. Opposing counsel interrupted before I had completed my statement. Move along, Miss Williams, Whitmore commanded. She clenched her jaw and continued. 10 minutes later, another objection arose. Objection. Relevance. Sustained. Then again, objection. Foundation. Sustained. This pattern repeated. By the 4th hour of the proceedings, Maya had been permitted to present barely half of her intended argument. Mercer was also aware of the situation. He had ceased pretending the proceedings were fair. With each ruling in his favor, Mercer's confidence swelled. Each time Maya was cut off, the atmosphere in the room seemed to solidify the judge's clear allegiance. When the afternoon recess was announced, Benjamin met her in the corridor just outside the courtroom. He's bleeding you dry, he remarked. I'm aware, Maya responded. He wants to provoke you into making a mistake. Maya rubbed her temple. He's not even bothering to conceal it anymore. Benjamin nodded. Because he now understands that subtlety won't be his salvation. He's pushing to force a conclusion before you can establish sufficient grounds for an appeal. Maya glanced towards the courtroom doors. So, what is my course of action? Benjamin answered without hesitation. You cease pursuing him. She frowned. What do you mean? You're still trying to prove Whitmore's corruption directly. He controls the courtroom. He dictates the procedures. As long as the conflict remains confined within these walls, he can bury you. Maya's expression sharpened. Then where do I strike? Benjamin's voice lowered. You circumvent him. That evening, Maya sat alone in her office, meticulously reviewing every witness associated with the original Brooks conviction. Most of them were no longer active in their professions, some had passed away, and others had flatly refused contact. Then she noticed a name circled within the original defense notes. Detective Marcus Holloway, the lead investigator, now retired. His address was still on file. Benjamin entered as she was grabbing her coat. Where are you headed? He inquired. To find the detective who built the initial case. Benjamin glanced at the file and then nodded. Take your phone and call me if anything feels off. 40 minutes later, Maya stood on the porch of a modest brick house in the West End. The porch light was illuminated. She knocked. An older gentleman, gray-haired, broad-shouldered, and with suspicion etched across his features, opened the door. "Yes, Detective Holloway?" she inquired. "Retired detective. My name is Maya Williams. I'm the counsel for Leonard Brooks." The man's expression shifted instantly. He attempted to close the door. Maya caught it. "Please," she implored. "I only need 5 minutes." "I have nothing to say about that case," he stated firmly. "You sent an innocent man to prison," Maya countered. His eyes hardened. "Watch yourself." "Were you aware the evidence was suppressed?" Maya asked. "Or did Whitmore conceal it from you as well?" This question paused him for a fleeting moment, and that moment revealed everything to Maya. She stepped closer. "You didn't know." Holloway's jaw tightened. "You need to leave." "You testified that Brooks was guilty." "I testified based on the file I was given." "Then help me understand what was omitted," Maya urged. He stared at her for a considerable duration before quietly stating, "You have no comprehension of the caliber of individuals you are engaging with." Maya held his gaze. "Then, enlighten me." Holloway looked past her towards the darkened street before stepping aside. 5 minutes inside, he conceded. He sat heavily in a chair, folding his arms. "I arrested Brooks because the evidence indicated his involvement," he began. "At least that's what I believed at the time." Maya sat opposite him. "But," she interjected, 3 days prior to the trial, another witness came forward claiming she saw someone else fleeing the scene." Maya leaned forward. "And I submitted that statement." Holloway's face darkened. Then it vanished. Maya's pulse quickened. "Who removed it?" "Officially, I don't know, but unofficially—" Holloway looked at her. "Whitmore himself took the file." Maya's heart pounded. "You saw him?" "He said he would handle it personally." "Did anyone else know?" "Only me and one assistant prosecutor." "Who?" Holloway hesitated before providing a name. "Elaine Porter." Maya scribbled it down instantly. "Where is she now?" "Retired." "Neighborville." Maya stood. "Would you testify to this?" Holloway let out a bitter laugh. "Against Raymond Whitmore? Do you believe I possess a death wish? You allowed an innocent man to languish for 22 years. This statement had an impact. Holloway looked away. His voice dropped. "I have thought about that man every single day since his conviction." Maya remained silent. He swallowed hard. "Then if I testify, they will come after me." Maya responded without hesitation. "They are already coming after all of us." A silence ensued. Finally, Holloway nodded. "One statement, under oath. That is all I will provide." Maya departed, the signed affidavit in her hand. For the first time since this ordeal began, she possessed direct testimony linking Whitmore to the suppression of evidence. She immediately called Benjamin. "You were correct," she stated. "Holloway has provided the statement. Whitmore personally removed it." Benjamin's voice sharpened. "That is sufficient to expose everything." "I also have the name of another prosecutor, Elaine Porter. Find her." The following morning, Maya drove to Neepville before dawn. Elaine Porter answered the door, clad in a robe and wearing reading glasses. She nearly shut the door upon Maya's introduction. "Please," Maya said quickly. "I'm aware you worked on the Brooks prosecution." Elaine's face turned pale. "I have nothing to say." "You know what Whitmore did." Elaine's eyes widened with fear. "You need to leave. He suppressed exculpatory evidence. Leave. He sent an innocent man to prison." Elaine's voice cracked. "Leave before someone sees you here." This gave Maya pause. "Someone?" Elaine glanced around nervously, then whispered, "You believe Whitmore acted alone?" Maya froze. Elaine stepped closer. "There were individuals above him. People who needed Brooks convicted. People who ensured inconvenient evidence disappeared." Maya's stomach tightened. "Who?" Elaine shook her head. "I will not die for your case." Elaine then shut the door firmly. Maya stood there, frozen. Then her phone rang. "Benjamin." He did not act alone, Maya stated. Silence then. Come back now. When Maya returned to the office, Benjamin had secured the door before she had finished speaking. She recounted everything concerning Porter, her fear, and the individuals in positions of power above Whitmore. Benjamin sat down heavily. That means this is far larger than judicial corruption. Maya stared at him. How large? Benjamin's face hardened. Large enough that people are still fearful after 22 years. Maya placed Holloway's affidavit on the desk. Then we utilize this first. Benjamin nodded slowly. Yes. He looked at her. But understand this now, Maya. If Whitmore realizes you have secured cooperating witnesses, he will not simply increase his efforts in court. Maya already understood his implication. He will attempt to stop them. Benjamin's expression darkened. And he will attempt to stop you. That afternoon, Maya returned to her apartment for the first time in 2 days. The moment she opened the door, she sensed something was amiss. The place had been thoroughly ransacked. Drawers were emptied, files scattered, furniture overturned. Her stomach plummeted. She rushed to the desk where she kept her backup case materials. They were gone. Every copy of Holloway's affidavit, every duplicated suppression order, every witness note had vanished. Only one item remained on the desk. A single typed sheet of paper. No signature, no fingerprints, just 6 words. Drop the case while you can. Maya stared at the message, her hands trembling. Not from fear, but from anger, because now there could be no doubt. This was no longer about a single corrupt judge safeguarding his reputation. This was a meticulously constructed apparatus, and it had finally revealed its teeth. She snatched the note, called Benjamin, and uttered the only words that mattered now. They're scared. They're scared. Benjamin arrived at Maya's apartment in under 15 minutes. He entered, stopped, and surveyed the destruction in silence. Every drawer had been emptied, every cabinet opened, cushions slashed, books thrown from shelves. He turned slowly towards her. Did they take anything of value? Maya held up the typed note. Only the case materials. Benjamin read it at once, his face darkening. They're escalating. Maya folded her arms tightly. They broke into my home, Benjamin. I know. They stole evidence. I know. They threatened me. Benjamin stepped closer. And that signifies you've hit a critical target. Maya stared at him. He pointed to the note. People don't break into homes over flimsy cases. Maya looked around her devastated apartment. Her anger had consumed any fear. Now, this proves a conspiracy. No, Benjamin said grimly. It proves desperation, which is advantageous but not admissible evidence. Maya exhaled sharply. So, what is our next step? Benjamin looked at her directly. Now, we cease pretending this is solely a legal dispute. The following morning, Maya arrived at the office carrying the stolen evidence report she had filed with the police before dawn. She handed it to Benjamin. Do you believe they will conduct an honest investigation? No, Benjamin replied. But I want it officially documented before this situation deteriorates further. Maya sat across from him. We still have Holloway. Benjamin nodded. And now we expedite his relocation before they can reach him. Maya froze. You believe they will target him next? Benjamin's expression provided his answer. Within an hour, they had arranged for Holloway to meet privately and sign a recorded sworn deposition before an independent court reporter. No delays, no courthouse, no prior notification. Maya drove herself. The deposition was scheduled at a private office building downtown, utilizing borrowed conference room space from one of Benjamin's old colleagues. Holloway arrived 20 minutes late. He appeared worse than before, sweating and jittery. He repeatedly checked the windows. The court reporter administered the oath. Maya sat across from him. State your name for the record, she instructed. Marcus Holloway. Did you investigate the homicide for which Leonard Brooks was convicted? Yes. Did you submit a witness statement identifying an alternate suspect prior to the trial? Yes. What became of that statement? Holloway swallowed. It was removed from the case file. By whom? He hesitated. Maya leaned in. Detective Holloway, you are currently under oath. He looked down, then stated, Raymond Whitmore took the file himself. Maya held her breath. Did he provide an explanation? He claimed the witness was unreliable. Did you concur? No. Did you raise an objection? Yes. What was the outcome? Holloway's voice lowered. He informed me that if I desired a future within the department, I should maintain silence. The room fell into silence. The court reporter continued her typing. Maya posed one final question. To your knowledge, did the suppression of that statement materially impact the conviction of Leonard Brooks? Holloway looked directly at her. Yes. The deposition concluded. Maya turned off the recorder. Benjamin smiled for the first time in days. That, he said quietly, is the initial significant breach in his defenses, but the victory lasted less than an hour. As Holloway exited the building, Maya watched from the conference room window. A black SUV pulled to the curb. Two men exited. Holloway stopped abruptly. One of the men said something Maya couldn't hear. Holloway then turned, rushed back inside, and burst into the room, his face pale. We have a problem. Benjamin stood instantly. What happened? Holloway pointed towards the street. They know I talked. Maya ran to the window. The SUV was already pulling away. Her stomach plummeted. How could they possibly know this quickly? Benjamin's face hardened. Because someone leaked the meeting. All three of them froze. Maya looked at Benjamin. No one knew except us. Benjamin's expression darkened, and he looked at the court reporter. The reporter looked up, appearing horrified. It wasn't me. Benjamin believed her instantly, which left only one conclusion. Someone within the firm. Maya's voice turned cold. Benton. Benjamin nodded. He's been feeding them information. Holloway backed against the wall. No, I'm finished. I testified. We're done. Maya stepped towards him. They threatened you because your testimony carries weight. I don't care. His voice cracked. I'm not losing my pension or my life over this. He turned to Benjamin. You said I would be protected. Benjamin answered honestly. I said we would try. That was not sufficient. Holloway grabbed his coat. If anyone asks, I deny everything. He then fled. The door slammed shut behind him. Maya stood frozen. Tell me that deposition still holds if he recants. Benjamin shook his head slowly. The defense will attack his credibility. Without live testimony, it is weakened. Maya slammed her hand against the table. Damn it. Benjamin remained calm. Then we find another witness. Maya turned sharply. Porter will not talk. She will if she realizes they are willing to incriminate everyone involved. That afternoon, Maya drove back to Neepville alone. Elaine Porter opened the door and immediately attempted to close it. Maya blocked it. Holloway was just threatened after testifying. Elaine's face drained of color. They know who is speaking now, Elaine whispered. I told you to stay away. Maya stepped closer. They will come for you too. Elaine's breathing quickened. You do not understand these people. No, Maya interrupted. You do not understand me. Elaine blinked. Maya's voice hardened. My father was arrested on false charges when I was 9 years old. He died before he could ever clear his name. My entire life, I have watched people like you remain silent while individuals like Whitmore destroyed black families and labeled it as justice. Elaine remained silent. Maya moved closer. You helped suppress evidence, perhaps out of fear, perhaps because you believed someone else would rectify the situation later. Elaine's eyes welled up with tears, but the later never arrived. A silence fell. Then Elaine whispered, I tried to stop it. Maya froze. What? Elaine looked down. When Whitmore removed the witness statement, I lodged an objection. He informed me the directive originated from higher up. He stated that influential individuals required Brooks' conviction to expedite the case closure. Who? Elaine shook her head. I was never provided with names, but I know Whitmore did not act alone, and I know he maintained private records. He referred to them as insurance. He said if anyone ever betrayed him, He possessed documentation to ruin them all. Maya's pulse quickened. Records where? Elaine hesitated. He kept a private storage unit outside the city. I drove him there once after the trial. Maya stared at her. Benjamin had been correct. There was always a contingency plan. Always hidden leverage. If Whitmore possessed records, then this could dismantle all of them. Maya stepped closer. Provide me with the address. Elaine hesitated one final time, then wrote it down. That night, Maya and Benjamin sat in his office, contemplating the storage unit's address. Benjamin looked at her. If Whitmore kept proof of who ordered the suppression, we expose everyone. Benjamin nodded. And if we pursue that evidence, this ceases to be about a single judge. Maya met his eyes. It already has. Benjamin studied her, then slowly smiled. Good, because if we're going to do this, he grabbed his coat. We're going to finish it. Maya stood. Her apartment had been ransacked. Her witness threatened. Her own firm compromised. The apparatus had declared war. Now, she was done with merely surviving, done with reacting, done with defending. For the first time since this ordeal commenced, she was taking the offensive. And somewhere in Chicago, Raymond Whitmore still believed fear would halt her. He was mistaken. Maya and Benjamin departed the office just after midnight. Neither spoke much during the drive. The storage facility was located 30 minutes outside of Chicago, nestled behind an industrial strip near the interstate. It was the kind of place people used when they wanted things to remain forgotten. Benjamin parked across the street. Do you understand the consequences if we are mistaken? He inquired. Maya looked at the rows of metal doors beyond the chain-link fence. We won't be. Benjamin handed her a flashlight. And if Whitmore reports this as unlawful access... Maya held up the handwritten note from Elaine Porter. She rented the unit under his instructions. Her name is still on the lease. She granted permission. Benjamin nodded once. Then let's discover what our honorable judge has been concealing. 20 minutes later, they stood inside Unit 314. At first glance, it appeared ordinary. Boxes, old file cabinets, sealed bankers' cartons were stacked along the walls. Then Maya noticed the labels. Brooks Case Suppression Notes. Duh. Office Private. Her pulse quickened. Benjamin stared in disbelief. Jesus! Maya dropped to her knees beside the nearest box and ripped it open. Inside were folders. Dozens of them. Case files, private notes, correspondence, every document meticulously organized. Whitmore had kept everything. Insurance. Exactly as Elaine had described. Benjamin opened another box, then another. His face hardened. This isn't just Brooks. Maya looked over. The labels read Martin's State, People versus Harris, Johnson Appeal. Dozens of criminal cases. Benjamin's voice turned grim. He kept records on all of them. Maya stared at the boxes. How many innocent people? Benjamin offered no answer, as neither of them wished to speculate. Maya opened a leather-bound notebook tucked inside the final cabinet. The first page made her stomach drop. Names, dates, case numbers, judges, police officers, prosecutors, and beside many entries, payments, favors, political donations. Benjamin stepped beside her. His expression changed instantly. My God! Maya turned pages rapidly. There it was. A ledger. Whitmore's private record of the network that had protected him for years. Bribes, suppression deals, election contributions, backroom arrangements. Then Maya found the Brooks entry. Her eyes narrowed. She read aloud. Pressure from downtown office. Conviction required before election cycle. Mayor's office involved. Witness statement removed. Holloway objected. Porter, weak but manageable. Benjamin went still. Mayor's office. Maya turned more pages, then froze. Another note. If exposure risk increases, Benton can contain media and legal pressure through firm contacts. Maya stared. Her blood ran cold. Benjamin. He read over her shoulder, then cursed under his breath. Harold Benton, senior partner, our own firm. He had not simply leaked information. He had been an integral part of the apparatus for years. Maya shut the notebook slowly. This extends beyond Whitmore. Benjamin nodded. It extends beyond anything I could have imagined. Then, headlights flashed across the storage door. Both froze. A car stopped outside. Voices. Benjamin killed the flashlight instantly. Move. They crouched behind stacked boxes. The padlock outside rattled. Then metal groaned. The door rolled upward. 2 men stepped inside. Dark suits. No uniforms, no badges. One carried a flashlight. The other spoke first. Check everything. He said the files were here. Maya's heart slammed against her ribs. Benjamin leaned close and whispered, They know. The men moved deeper inside. One kicked open a box. Damn it! Someone's been here. The second man turned. Find them. Benjamin's eyes met Maya's. Run. They slipped behind the rear shelving just as the flashlight swept past. The space behind the unit opened to a maintenance corridor. Barely enough room. Benjamin grabbed her arm and pulled her through it. They ran behind them. There! Footsteps exploded after them. Maya raced through the confined passage, the weighty ledger pressed tightly to her form. Benjamin forcefully flung open an emergency exit. A gust of frigid night air assailed them. They fled towards the vehicular area. A cry echoed from behind. Then, the crack of gunfire. A projectile impacted the pavement near Maya's feet. She faltered. Benjamin seized her arm, propelling her forward. Get in the vehicle, he urged. They scrambled inside. Benjamin forcefully turned the ignition key. The pursuing SUV roared to life simultaneously. Maya glanced back. They're pursuing us, she stated. Benjamin pressed the accelerator to the floor. The pursuit endured for close to 10 minutes, navigating through industrial side streets, past crimson traffic signals, and executing abrupt turns. Twice, the SUV nearly collided with them. Ultimately, Benjamin veered into a narrow service lane, traversed an access road, and vanished from sight beneath an elevated roadway. He maintained his course for an additional 15 minutes. Only upon reaching the city center did he decelerate to a stop. Both individuals sat in profound silence, their breathing labored, Maya's knuckles still blanched white around the ledger. Benjamin regarded the book, then her. They fired at us, he remarked. Maya nodded. He emitted a single humorless laugh, not from amusement, but from the stark realization that their truth was undeniable. We were right, Maya stated, her gaze dropping to the ledger. No, she replied softly. We were too late to comprehend the extent of our rightness. Back at Benjamin's workplace, they secured every portal, spread the amassed documents across the conference surface, and commenced their meticulous examination. The deeper they delved, the more alarming the discoveries became. Whitmore possessed records implicating judges, prosecutors, municipal officials, and partners in law firms within a decades-long clandestine operation of judicial case manipulation. Not every conviction, nor every prosecutor, but a significant number. Sufficient to dismantle careers, to instigate federal inquiries, to profoundly destabilize the entire municipality. Maya leaned back, overcome with incredulity. This could bring down half the legal establishment, Benjamin affirmed, which is precisely why they attempted to eliminate us this evening. Maya re-examined the file pertaining to Brooks, noting the annotation implicating the mayor's office, identifying Benton's name, and scrutinizing every illicit signature. She then posed the sole critical question. How do we leverage this? Benjamin responded without hesitation. Carefully, he stated, indicating the Brooks documentation. We maintain the focus on your case. If we release everything simultaneously, they will obscure it within political discourse. Maya nodded slowly. So, we utilize Brooks to breach the initial barrier. Precisely, Benjamin confirmed. He held up Whitmore's handwritten annotations. This substantiates suppression, conflicts of interest, and conspiracy. Sufficient grounds for recusal, judicial review, and criminal referral. Maya surveyed the compilation. Then, her telephone chimed. An unidentified number. Benjamin frowned. Don't answer it. She answered regardless. Silence. Then a man's voice, low and measured. You should have left the storage unit undisturbed. A chill coursed through Maya. She remained silent. The voice continued. You have until tomorrow morning to relinquish all that you have taken. Click. The line disconnected. Benjamin regarded her intently. They know you possess it. Maya lowered the telephone. For a considerable interval, neither uttered a word. Then Benjamin spoke softly. There is no turning back from this now. Maya's gaze fell upon the evidence spread across the table, upon the truth that powerful individuals had resorted to lethal force to safeguard, upon the irrefutable proof that could dismantle them all. She then met his eyes. I had no intention of retreating. Benjamin offered a single nod, then pushed the Brooks evidence towards her. Good, he affirmed. He slid a legal notepad across the table. Because tomorrow, his expression hardened, we cease our defensive posture. Maya picked up her pen. Beyond the windows, Chicago slumbered. Within the confines of that secured office, two individuals prepared to dismantle an entrenched system. And for the first time since entering Whitmore's courtroom, Maya was no longer striving for mere survival. She was fighting to expose everyone. Maya and Benjamin toiled through the entire night. By the advent of dawn, the conference room table was arrayed with meticulously organized stacks of evidence. One collection comprised all materials directly linked to Leonard Brooks's conviction. Another contained documents establishing Raymond Whitmore's culpability in suppressing evidence. A third gathered proof of the broader conspiracy, detailing corruption that encompassed individuals far beyond the courtroom's immediate purview. Benjamin indicated the Brooks file. This is our initial point of leverage, Maya concurred. We maintain a concentrated focus. Precisely, Benjamin confirmed. We incriminate Whitmore with the elements we can unequivocally prove. Once he is implicated, the remainder will begin to unravel. Maya began consolidating the documents into trial folders. Benjamin then met her gaze. Do you comprehend the implications of today's actions? She returned his stare. We initiate our offensive. No, he corrected. Today, they will react with panic. Courtroom 7. B was filled to capacity with standing room only. Reporters lined the walls. Several legal practitioners from other firms had discreetly entered the gallery. Even courthouse personnel lingered near the doorways. Word had disseminated that a significant development was imminent. Whitmore emerged from his chambers, projecting an air of composure. However, the instant his gaze fell upon Maya, a perceptible shift occurred. He perceived the unshakable confidence on her countenance and understood she had uncovered something pivotal. The bailiff called the room to order. Whitmore stated, "Proceed." Maya rose immediately. Your Honor, before arguments resume, the plaintiff submits newly discovered documentary evidence directly pertinent to the integrity of these proceedings. Mercer stood. Objection. Overruled. Whitmore snapped his response with undue haste. He was eager to ascertain the nature of her evidence. Maya stepped forward. The plaintiff moves to enter into the record handwritten prosecutorial notes, signed suppression orders, and internal memoranda demonstrating that then-prosecutor Raymond Whitmore knowingly withheld exculpatory evidence in the original prosecution of Leonard Brooks. The courtroom erupted. Whitmore struck the gavel forcefully, but his voice lacked its customary authority. Maya continued unabated. The plaintiff further moves to enter evidence that Your Honor failed to disclose direct prosecutorial involvement in the underlying case prior to presiding over these proceedings. Mercer was on his feet, vociferously objecting. Whitmore disregarded him, his attention fixed on the documents in Maya's grasp. For the first time since the proceedings commenced, he appeared visibly shaken. Maya placed the initial file before the clerk, followed by the second, and then the handwritten notebook. Whitmore's countenance drained of color. He recognized the notebook. He knew precisely its provenance. His voice lowered perceptibly. Where did you obtain those? The question resonated throughout the entire room, and the apprehension conveyed by its delivery was palpable. Not disbelief, not confusion, but sheer terror. Maya responded with unwavering clarity. From records your office concealed for 22 years. Whitmore half rose from his seat. That material is inadmissible. Then you acknowledge its authenticity? Maya interjected. Silence descended upon the courtroom, which seemed to freeze. Whitmore slowly resumed his seat, his hands gripping the bench with considerable force. Maya turned to address the gallery, then the reporters, and finally directed her gaze back to the bench. These notes document the suppression of alternate suspect testimony, the concealment of exculpatory witness statements, and direct political pressure to secure a conviction before an election cycle. Gasps swept through the chamber. Mercer appeared physically unwell. Benjamin remained seated behind Maya, a silent and steadfast presence. Whitmore's voice adopted a dangerously low timbre. You are venturing into perilous territory, Miss Williams. Maya met his unyielding stare. No, Your Honor, I am exposing it. She placed the final document on the table. The courtroom imploded. Whitmore struck the gavel repeatedly. Then the rear courtroom doors swung open. All eyes turned. 3 officials entered. Judicial Review Board investigators. They proceeded directly towards the bench. One of them spoke clearly. Judge Raymond Whitmore, you are hereby ordered to step down from these proceedings pending an immediate judicial misconduct review. The courtroom descended into pandemonium. Individuals rose to their feet. Reporters rushed towards the exits to disseminate the sensational news. Mercer looked on the verge of collapse. Whitmore remained immobile, then slowly stood, his gaze fixed on Maya. The animosity in his eyes was absolute. This is not concluded, he stated quietly. He was then escorted from the bench. And for the first time in decades, Raymond Whitmore departed his own courtroom under the watchful eyes of those he had once held in dominion. The hearing was reassigned within hours. An emergency replacement judge reviewed the Brooks evidence before evening. By sunset, Leonard Brooks' conviction was formally overturned. The courtroom erupted with the announcement of the ruling. Brooks dissolved into tears. His family rushed to embrace him. Reporters shouted questions, cameras flashed incessantly, and at the epicenter of it all stood Maya Williams, no longer the humiliated young attorney of 3 days prior, but the woman who had compelled a federal judge to abdicate his bench. However, the celebratory atmosphere was short-lived. Benjamin drew her aside as the courthouse emptied. Come with me, he instructed. His tone was uncharacteristic, overly grave. He led her into an empty corridor and closed the door. What is it? Benjamin held up his telephone. News alerts flooded the screen. Federal judge removed amid corruption allegations. Evidence suggests wider political conspiracy in wrongful conviction case. Mayor's office denies involvement. Maya looked up, her countenance paling. It's spreading rapidly. Benjamin nodded. Too rapidly. A knot formed in her stomach. What do you mean? I mean, now that this has become public knowledge, everyone named in those files has begun protecting themselves. He stepped closer. Maya, listen carefully. Whitmore's downfall was the initial phase. Now the rest of them will retaliate. As if on cue, Maya's telephone rang. An unknown number. She answered. A woman's voice, trembling with fear, spoke. Miss Williams, my name is Elaine Porter. Maya straightened instantly. Elaine. They came to my house. Benjamin's expression hardened. Elaine was nearly sobbing. They know I spoke with you. They know everything. Where are you? At a motel off Route 34. Please don't let them kill me before I testify. The line went dead. Maya reached for her coat. Benjamin restrained her. This could be a trap. Or she's finally prepared to speak, Benjamin conceded after a moment's hesitation. Very well, we go together. 45 minutes later, they arrived at the motel parking lot. Room 208. The door was slightly ajar. Maya knocked once. No response. Benjamin moved closer. Something felt amiss. He slowly pushed the door open. Elaine Porter lay on the floor, blood pooling beneath her. Maya's breath hitched. Benjamin rushed forward, checking her pulse, then looked up grimly. She's alive. Barely. Elaine's eyes fluttered open. She weakly grasped Maya's wrist. They found the rest, she whispered. What rest? Maya inquired. Elaine coughed, a fleck of blood appearing. More files. Whitmore kept copies. A safety deposit box. Her voice faded. Maya leaned closer. Where? Elaine forced out the words. First National downtown. Box 117. She then lost consciousness. Sirens wailed in the distance. Benjamin looked at Maya. She may not survive. Maya stared at Elaine, then at the bloodstain on her own hands. This had transcended careers, transcended politics. Lives were now being extinguished. Benjamin stood. Maya stood. She rose slowly, her eyes hardened, cold, and focused. They tried to kill her because they are still concealing something far greater. Benjamin nodded. And now Maya wiped the blood from her hands. Now, we conclude this before they bury everyone. Because Raymond Whitmore had fallen, but the machinery behind him remained operational. And if Elaine Porter was correct, the most damaging secrets had yet to be uncovered. Maya did not sleep that night. Neither did Benjamin. They remained stationed outside the hospital until nearly 2 in the morning when a physician finally emerged. She is stable, he reported, but she lost a considerable amount of blood. If you require a statement, it will not be this evening. Maya nodded. That was sufficient. Elaine Porter was alive, and before succumbing to unconsciousness, she had provided them with one final lead. A safety deposit box, First National Bank, downtown branch, box 117. Benjamin drove them directly from the hospital to his office. We proceed first thing in the morning, he stated. Maya gazed out the passenger window. They stabbed her. Benjamin's grip on the steering wheel tightened. Yes, they did not threaten her. They did not intimidate her. They attempted to end her life because whatever is contained within that box is of greater consequence than Whitmore. That thought occupied Maya's mind throughout the night. By 8 o'clock the following morning, they were standing inside First National Bank. Benjamin slid his identification card across the counter. We require access to safety deposit box number 17 under emergency legal authority pertaining to an active criminal investigation. The manager frowned. I will need proof of authorization. Maya placed Elaine Porter's recorded hospital statement transcript on the desk. The manager read it, his expression transforming. 10 minutes later, they were escorted into the vault. The clerk opened box 117 and stepped aside. Maya reached inside, retrieving a thick manila envelope, then another, followed by a flash drive. Benjamin's expression grew more severe. Take everything. Back at the office, they spread the contents across the table. The initial envelope contained private correspondence between Whitmore and senior city officials. The second held signed affidavits from former prosecutors. However, it was the flash drive that fundamentally altered the landscape. Benjamin loaded it onto his laptop. A folder opened. Within it were scanned documents, financial ledgers, internal emails, and one file simply designated as Brooks Master File. Maya clicked it. The inaugural email was sufficient to make her cease breathing, from Deputy Mayor Thomas Whitaker to Raymond Whitmore. Subject: Brooks prosecution manipulation. Mayor desires conviction before election. Handle witness issue. No delays. Benjamin stared at the screen. Deputy Mayor. Maya clicked the next email. More directives, more pressure, more coordination. Emails exchanged between city officials, prosecutors, and police leadership, all directly linked to the Brooks conviction. And then, one final file. A payment ledger, detailing monthly transfers routed through shell accounts. The recipients included judges, prosecutors, police supervisors, and political operatives. Benjamin leaned back slowly. This isn't mere corruption. Maya looked at him. It is organized. The office fell silent, for now they understood the truth. Whitmore had never been the architect of the entire operation. He had been a component of it, a powerful one, but merely a component. Maya reread the email chain. Deputy Mayor Whitaker orchestrated the conviction. Benjamin nodded. And likely much more than that. Her phone buzzed. An unknown number. She answered cautiously. A male voice spoke immediately. You need to cease your inquiries. Maya's jaw tightened. Who is this? You have already achieved sufficient victory. Whitmore is finished. Brooks is free. Withdraw. Benjamin regarded her intently. Maya placed the call on speaker. The voice continued. Accept the triumph. Enjoy the notoriety. Stop before more individuals shed blood. Then, the line disconnected. Benjamin's countenance darkened. That was not panic. No, Maya replied, her gaze fixed on the files. That was an offer. Benjamin nodded. They are indicating that Whitmore was the intended sacrifice. Maya grasped the implication. The machinery had surrendered one individual to preserve itself. They anticipated her to desist at this juncture, to accept the public victory, to be recognized as the young hero attorney who defeated a corrupt judge, and to never question who had constructed the corruption in the first place. Maya looked at Benjamin. What if we do not cease? Benjamin's response was immediate. Then they will annihilate us. She offered a single nod. Then we advance before they can act. That afternoon, Maya and Benjamin conferred privately with federal investigators, not local police, and certainly not city prosecutors, federal agents. They relinquished copies of all acquired materials, emails, ledgers, affidavits, the flash drive. The lead FBI agent, after reviewing the files for 20 minutes, looked up. His expression had turned chilling. Do you comprehend the gravity of your allegations here? Maya met his gaze. Yes. The agent then addressed Benjamin. If this substantiates, we are discussing racketeering, judicial corruption, obstruction of justice, and conspiracy, potentially spanning decades. Benjamin nodded. That is precisely why we have come to you. The agent closed the file. From this moment forward, you will make no public statements. You will speak to no one outside of this room. Understood? Maya affirmed her understanding. Then, the waiting commenced. 48 hours passed. No updates, no calls, no arrests, nothing. And then on the third morning, Benjamin strode into Maya's office, his telephone in hand. You need to witness this. He handed it to her. Breaking news. Federal investigation into Judge Whitmore narrowed to individual misconduct. Mayor's office cleared of involvement. Deputy Mayor Whitaker denies allegations. Maya stared, her countenance drained of color. No. Benjamin nodded grimly. They are suppressing it. She stood so rapidly, her chair scraped backward. We provided them with everything. Benjamin's jaw tightened. Someone at the federal level either leaked or suppressed it. Maya paced. No, that's impossible. Benjamin remained silent, for it was not impossible. It was transp. The chase continued for nearly 10 minutes, traversing industrial backroads, navigating red lights, and executing sharp turns. Twice, the SUV nearly collided with them. Ultimately, Benjamin cut through a narrow alley, crossed an access road, and disappeared from view beneath an overpass. He continued driving for an additional 15 minutes. Only upon reaching the downtown district did he pull over. Both individuals sat in silence, their breathing heavy, Maya's hand still gripping the ledger with white knuckles. Benjamin glanced at the ledger, then at her. They shot at us, he stated. Maya nodded. He let out a single, humorless laugh, not out of mirth, but because the truth had become irrefutable. We were right, Maya said, looking down at the ledger. No, she replied softly. We were too late to realize how profoundly right. Back at Benjamin's office, they secured every entrance, spread the documents across the conference table, and began their methodical examination. The deeper they investigated, the more alarming the revelations became. Whitmore possessed records that implicated judges, prosecutors, city officials, and law firm partners in a decades-long network of case manipulation. Not every conviction, not every prosecutor, but enough. Enough to ruin careers, enough to trigger federal investigations, enough to shake the entire city. Maya leaned back, overwhelmed by disbelief. This could bring down half the legal establishment. Benjamin nodded. Which is precisely why they attempted to kill us tonight. Maya re-examined the file pertaining to Brooks, noting the annotation that implicated the mayor's office, identifying Benton's name, and scrutinizing every illicit signature. She then posed the single most critical question. How do we leverage this? Benjamin answered immediately. Carefully, he stated, gesturing towards the Brooks documents. We keep the focus on your case. If we release everything at once, they will bury it in politics. Maya nodded slowly. So, we use Brooks to open the door. Exactly, Benjamin confirmed. He held up Whitmore's handwritten notes. This proves suppression, conflict of interest, conspiracy. Enough for recusal, judicial review, and criminal referral. Maya stared at the pile. Then her phone rang. An unknown number. Benjamin frowned. Don't answer it. She answered anyway. Silence. Then a man's voice, low and controlled. You should have left the storage unit alone. Maya's blood ran cold. She remained silent. The voice continued. You have until tomorrow morning to surrender everything you took. Click. The line went dead. Benjamin stared at her. They know you have it. Maya lowered the phone. For a long moment, neither spoke. Then Benjamin said quietly, There is no walking this back now. Maya looked at the evidence spread across the table, at the truth powerful men had killed to protect, at the proof that could destroy them all. Then she met his eyes. I wasn't planning to walk. Benjamin nodded once, then pushed the Brooks evidence toward her. Good, he affirmed. He slid a legal pad across the table. Because tomorrow, his expression hardened, we stopped defending. Maya picked up her pen. Outside the windows, Chicago slept. Inside that locked office, two people prepared to bring down a system. And for the first time since entering Whitmore's courtroom, Maya was no longer fighting to survive. She was fighting to expose everyone. Maya and Benjamin worked through the night. By dawn, the conference room table was covered in organized stacks of evidence. One pile held everything tied directly to Leonard Brooks' conviction. Another held documents connecting Raymond Whitmore to the suppression of evidence. A third contained proof of the wider conspiracy and corruption involving individuals far beyond the courtroom. Benjamin tapped the Brooks file. This is what we use first. Maya nodded. We keep the focus narrow. Exactly, Benjamin confirmed. We can bury Whitmore with the parts we can prove cleanly. Once he falls, the rest starts unraveling. Maya began gathering the documents into trial folders. Then Benjamin looked at her. You understand what happens today? She met his eyes. We make our move. No, he corrected. Today, they panic. Courtroom 7B was standing room only. Reporters lined the walls. Several attorneys from other firms had slipped into the gallery. Even courthouse staff lingered near the doors. Word had spread that something major was coming. Whitmore entered from chambers looking composed. But the moment his eyes found Maya, something shifted. He saw the confidence in her face and knew she had found something. The bailiff called the room to order. Whitmore stated, Proceed. Maya stood immediately. Your Honor, before argument continues, the plaintiff submits newly discovered documentary evidence directly relevant to the integrity of these proceedings. Mercer rose. Objection. Overruled. Whitmore snapped his response too quickly. He wanted to know what she had. Maya stepped forward. Plaintiff moves to enter into record handwritten prosecutorial notes, signed suppression orders, and internal memoranda proving that then prosecutor Raymond Whitmore knowingly withheld exculpatory evidence in the original prosecution of Leonard Brooks. The room erupted. Whitmore slammed the gavel, but his voice lacked its old control. Maya did not stop. Plaintiff further moves to enter evidence that Your Honor failed to disclose direct prosecutorial involvement in the underlying case before presiding over these proceedings. Mercer was on his feet, shouting objections. Whitmore ignored him. He was staring at the documents in Maya's hand, and for the first time since this began, he looked shaken. Maya placed the first file before the clerk, then the second, then the handwritten notebook. Whitmore's face drained of color. He knew that notebook. He knew exactly where it had come from. His voice dropped. Where did you get those? The entire room heard the question, and the fear in his voice was palpable. Not disbelief, not confusion, but terror. Maya answered clearly. From records your office concealed for 22 years. Whitmore rose halfway from his bench. That material is inadmissible. Then you recognize it? Maya cut in. Silence. The courtroom froze. Whitmore slowly sat back down, his hands gripping the bench hard. Maya turned to the gallery, to the reporters, then back to the bench. These notes document the suppression of alternate suspect testimony, the concealment of exculpatory witness statements, and direct political pressure to secure conviction before an election cycle. Gasps filled the room. Mercer looked physically ill. Benjamin sat behind Maya, silent and steady. Whitmore's voice became dangerously low. You are entering dangerous territory, Miss Williams. Maya held his stare. No, Your Honor. I'm exposing it. She placed the final document on the table. The room exploded. Whitmore struck the gavel again and again. Then the rear courtroom doors opened. Everyone turned. 3 officials entered, Judicial Review Board investigators. They moved directly toward the bench. One of them spoke clearly. Judge Raymond Whitmore, you are ordered to step down from proceedings pending immediate judicial misconduct review. The courtroom lost its mind. People stood. Reporters rushed for the exits to break the story. Mercer looked like he might collapse. Whitmore remained frozen, then slowly stood, his eyes locked on Maya. The hatred in them was absolute. This isn't over, he said quietly. Then he was escorted from the bench, and for the first time in decades, Raymond Whitmore walked out of his own courtroom beneath the eyes of the people he once ruled. The hearing was reassigned within hours. An emergency replacement judge reviewed the Brooks evidence before evening. By sunset, Leonard Brooks' conviction was formally overturned. The courtroom erupted when the ruling came down. Brooks collapsed into tears. His family rushed him. Reporters shouted questions. Cameras flashed non-stop, and in the center of it all stood Maya Williams, no longer the humiliated young attorney from 3 days earlier, but the woman who had forced a federal judge from the bench. But the celebration did not last. Benjamin pulled her aside as the courthouse emptied. Come with me, he instructed. His tone was wrong, too serious. He led her into an empty hallway and shut the door. What is it? Benjamin held up his phone. News alerts filled the screen. Federal judge removed amid corruption allegations. Evidence suggests wider political conspiracy in wrongful conviction case. Mayor's office denies involvement. Maya looked up. It's spreading fast. Benjamin nodded. Too fast? Her stomach tightened. What do you mean? I mean, once this became public, everyone named in those files started protecting themselves. He stepped closer. Maya, listen carefully. Whitmore falling was step 1. Now the rest of them fight back. As if on cue, Maya's phone rang. Unknown number, she answered. A woman's voice, shaking with fear, spoke. Miss Williams, my name is Elaine Porter. Maya straightened instantly. Elaine. They came to my house. Benjamin's face hardened. Elaine was nearly sobbing. They know I talked to you. They know everything. Where are you? At a motel off Route 34. Please, please, don't let them kill me before I testify. The line went dead. Maya grabbed her coat. Benjamin stopped her. This could be a setup. Or she's finally ready to talk, Benjamin conceded after a pause. Fine, we go together. 45 minutes later, they pulled into the motel parking lot. Room 208. The door was cracked open. Maya knocked once. No answer. Benjamin drew closer. Something felt wrong. He pushed the door open slowly. Elaine Porter lay on the floor, blood beneath her. Maya's breath caught. Benjamin rushed forward, checking her pulse, then looked up grimly. She's alive, barely. Elaine's eyes fluttered open. She grabbed Maya's wrist weakly. They found the rest, she whispered. What rest? Maya asked. Elaine coughed blood. More files. Whitmore kept copies. Safety deposit box. Her voice failed. Maya leaned closer. "Where?" Elaine forced out the words. "First National downtown, box 117. Then she lost consciousness. Sirens sounded in the distance. Benjamin looked at Maya. She may not survive. Maya stared at Elaine, then at the blood on her own hands. This had gone beyond careers, beyond politics. People were dying now. Benjamin stood. Maya stood. She stood slowly, eyes hard, cold, focused. They tried to kill her because they're still hiding something bigger. Benjamin nodded. And now Maya wiped the blood from her hands. Now we finish this before they bury everyone. Because Raymond Whitmore had fallen, but the machine behind him was still alive. And if Elaine Porter was right, the worst secrets had not even been uncovered yet. Maya did not sleep that night. Neither did Benjamin. They waited outside the hospital until nearly 2 in the morning before a doctor finally emerged. "She's stable," he said, "but she lost a lot of blood. If you need a statement, it won't be tonight." Maya nodded. That was enough. Elaine Porter was alive, and before collapsing, she had given them one final lead: a safety deposit box. First National Bank, downtown branch, box 117. Benjamin drove them straight from the hospital to his office. "We move first thing in the morning," he said. Maya stared out the passenger window. "They stabbed her." Benjamin gripped the wheel tighter. "Yes, they didn't threaten her. They didn't scare her. They tried to kill her because whatever is in that box matters more than Whitmore." That thought stayed with Maya all night. By 8 the next morning, they were standing inside First National Bank. Benjamin slid his bar card across the counter. "We need access to safety deposit box number 17 under emergency legal authority tied to an active criminal investigation." The manager frowned. "I'll need proof of authorization." Maya placed Elaine Porter's recorded hospital statement transcript on the desk. The manager read it. His face changed. 10 minutes later, they were escorted into the vault. The clerk opened box 117 and stepped away. Maya reached inside, pulled out a thick manila envelope, then another, then a flash drive. Benjamin's expression hardened. "Take everything." Back at the office, they spread the contents across the table. The first envelope contained private correspondence between Whitmore and senior city officials. The second held signed affidavits from former prosecutors. But it was the flash drive that changed everything. Benjamin loaded it onto his laptop. A folder opened. Inside were scanned documents, financial ledgers, internal emails, and one file simply labeled Brooks Master File. Maya clicked it. The first email was enough to stop her breathing. From Deputy Mayor Thomas Whitaker to Raymond Whitmore. Subject: Brooks prosecution massage. Mayor wants conviction before election. Handle witness issue. No delays. Benjamin stared at the screen. Deputy Mayor. Maya clicked the next. More instructions. More pressure. More coordination. Emails between city officials, prosecutors, and police leadership, all tied to the Brooks conviction. And then one final file. A payment ledger, monthly transfers routed through shell accounts. Recipients included judges, prosecutors, police supervisors, political operatives. Benjamin sat back slowly. "This isn't corruption." Maya looked at him. "It's organized." The office went silent because now they understood the truth. Whitmore had never been the head of the machine. He had been one piece of it, a powerful piece, but still only a piece. Maya looked at the email chain again. Deputy Mayor Whitaker ordered the conviction. Benjamin nodded. And probably much more than that. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She answered cautiously. A male voice spoke immediately. "You need to stop digging." Maya's jaw tightened. "Who is this?" "You've already won enough. Whitmore is finished. Brooks is free. Walk away." Benjamin stared at her. Maya put the call on speaker. The voice continued. "Take the victory. Enjoy the fame. Stop before more people bleed." Then the line went dead. Benjamin's face darkened. That wasn't panic. "No," Maya replied, looking at the files. That was an offer. Benjamin nodded. They're telling you Whitmore was the sacrifice. Maya understood. The machine had given up one man to save itself. They expected her to stop now, to take the public victory, to become the young hero attorney who beat a corrupt judge and never ask who built the corruption in the first place. Maya looked at Benjamin. What if we don't stop? Benjamin's answer came instantly. Then they destroy us. She nodded once. Then we move before they can. That afternoon, Maya and Benjamin met privately with federal investigators, not local police, not city prosecutors, federal. They handed over copies of everything: emails, ledgers, affidavits, the flash drive. The lead FBI agent reviewing the files looked up after 20 minutes. His expression had gone cold. Do you understand what you're alleging here? Maya met his eyes. Yes. The agent looked at Benjamin. If this verifies, we're talking about racketeering, judicial corruption, obstruction, conspiracy, possibly spanning decades. Benjamin nodded. That's why we came to you. The agent closed the file. From this point forward, you say nothing publicly. You speak to no one outside this room. Understood? Maya agreed. Then the waiting began. 48 hours. No updates, no calls, no arrests, nothing. And then on the third morning, Benjamin stormed into Maya's office carrying his phone. You need to see this. He handed it to her. Breaking news. Federal investigation into Judge Whitmore narrowed to individual misconduct. Mayor's office cleared of involvement. Deputy Mayor Whitaker denies allegations. Maya stared, her face drained. No, Benjamin nodded grimly. They're burying it. She stood so fast, her chair slammed backward. We gave them everything. Benjamin's jaw tightened. Someone at the federal level leaked or suppressed it. Maya paced. No, that's impossible. Benjamin said nothing, because it was not impossible. It was happening. The machine was larger than either of them had believed. Even federal channels were compromised. Maya turned toward him. What now? Benjamin answered quietly. Now, we do what institutions fear most. She stared. He held her gaze. We go public. That evening, Maya sat in a television studio across from the most watched investigative journalist in Chicago. Benjamin sat off camera. The producer counted down. 5, 4, 3, 2, red light. The host smiled. Tonight, the young attorney who brought down Judge Raymond Whitmore joins us live. Miss Williams, the city sees you as a hero, but we're told your story may not be over. Maya looked into the camera, straight into the homes of millions, and said, Judge Whitmore was not acting alone. The studio went silent. She continued, I have evidence of systemic corruption involving senior city officials, prosecutors, and political leadership who helped convict an innocent man and bury the truth for over 2 decades. The host blinked. Those are extraordinary allegations. Maya held up the email. They are documented allegations. By the end of the interview, Chicago was in chaos. News channels replayed it nonstop. Social media exploded. Public outrage spread nationwide. And suddenly, the machine could no longer hide in silence. That night, protesters gathered outside City Hall. Federal agents reopened inquiries. Political allies began turning on one another. And Deputy Mayor Thomas Whitaker held an emergency press conference, denying everything. But Maya saw his face on television, saw the sweat, saw the fear, and knew he was breaking. Benjamin stood beside her in the office watching the coverage. You just forced them into the light. Maya nodded. Good, because the moment corruption is dragged into daylight, it stops controlling the story. Her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. She answered. Whitmore's voice came through. Calm, cold. You should have taken the win when I offered it. Maya's eyes narrowed. You don't get to threaten me anymore. Whitmore laughed softly. No, Miss Williams. His voice darkened. You still don't understand. Silence. Then, you exposed the wrong man first. The line went dead. Maya slowly lowered the phone. Benjamin looked at her. What did he mean? Maya stared ahead, her voice dropped. He means Whitmore was protecting someone even above him. Benjamin's face hardened. And for the first time since this war began, they understood the true scale of what they had awakened. Because if Whitmore feared someone above Deputy Mayor Whitaker, then the real architect of the machine had not yet revealed himself. Maya barely slept after Whitmore's call. His words repeated in her head all night. You exposed the wrong man first. By morning, Chicago was in full political panic. Deputy Mayor Thomas Whitaker had resigned pending investigation. 3 assistant prosecutors had retained counsel. 2 police commanders had been placed on leave. And still, Whitmore's warning hung over everything. He had sounded afraid. Not defiant, afraid. That meant one thing. There was someone above all of them. Someone even Raymond Whitmore feared. Maya sat across from Benjamin in his office, staring at the wall of names they had built from the ledger, emails, and files. Whitmore, Whitaker, Benton, police supervisors, judges, donors, operatives. Benjamin tapped the board. Look at what all these people have in common. Maya narrowed her eyes. Political appointments, city contracts, judicial endorsements. Benjamin nodded. Who controls all of that? Maya's eyes widened. No. Benjamin met her stare. Yes. She turned slowly toward the board, toward the one name they hadn't dared to say aloud. Mayor Richard Holloway, the longest-serving mayor in the city's modern history, beloved publicly, untouchable politically, a man whose legacy was forged from criminal justice reform, community development, and unwavering law enforcement leadership. This same individual had personally attended the original press event announcing Leonard Brooks's conviction 22 years prior. Mia's voice softened. He was the very person who desperately needed Brooks to be found guilty before the approaching election. Benjamin confirmed with a nod. Deputy Mayor Whitaker was clearly following directives from a higher authority. Mia's apprehension grew. The mayor. Benjamin remained silent. No words were necessary. Mia returned her attention to the evidence displayed. If their suspicions were accurate, then the highest-ranking figure in Chicago's political landscape had orchestrated the wrongful conviction of an innocent black man to secure his re-election. Furthermore, everyone subordinate to him had spent 2 decades safeguarding this clandestine operation. Her phone vibrated. An encrypted communication arrived from the FBI operative they had previously encountered. Urgent personal meeting required. Alone. Benjamin read the message over her shoulder. A potential snare. Perhaps. Are you still proceeding? Maya affirmed with a nod. Absolutely. Benjamin retrieved his coat. Then you will not be going by yourself. They convened with the agent in a subterranean parking facility adjacent to a federal office building. His visible exhaustion and fear were telling indicators to Maya of the gravity of the unfolding situation. You must vanish for a period, he stated without preamble. Benjamin's posture became rigid. What has transpired? The agent surveyed his surroundings before divulging, Our internal inquiry has substantiated that the security breach originated from within the Department of Justice's Oversight Division. Your case is compromised at a significantly higher echelon than we initially apprehended. Maya's expression turned steely. How elevated? The agent swallowed. Sufficiently high that I am jeopardizing my entire career by engaging with you. He presented her with a sealed dispatch. What is contained within this? An internal memorandum. Restricted dissemination. It identifies the specific office that interceded to curtail the federal inquiry. Maya unfurled the document and read the heading. A chill coursed through her. The Office of the United States Attorney for the Northern District of Illinois. Benjamin uttered a quiet expletive. The federal prosecutors themselves had interfered. The agent addressed them both. You are no longer confronting municipal corruption. Maya fixed her gaze upon him. Then what battle am I engaged in? His response was stark. A pervasive apparatus that extends beyond your capacity to prove. He then turned to depart. Maya halted him. Why are you extending assistance to us? He looked back. Because if individuals like yourselves cease your endeavors, his demeanor grew severe. Those in their stratum will never experience defeat. He then departed. Back at their office, Benjamin drew the blinds shut and secured the door. They juxtaposed the new directive with their existing collection of evidence. Maya sat in a state of bewildered quietude. This implicates federal prosecutors, Benjamin acknowledged with a nod, which implies that if we publicly accuse the mayor without irrefutable substantiation, they will dismantle us before our allegations even reach public discourse. Maya lifted her head. Then we necessitate proof directly linking him. Benjamin indicated the ledger. Then we shall procure it. They dedicated 6 consecutive hours to meticulously tracing financial transactions, cross-referencing campaign contributions, and correlating political favors with the dates of convictions. It was then that Maya discovered it. A ledger entry concealed 3 pages deep. R.H. Personal Directive. Priority, Brooks's conviction. Confirm, press event, post verdict. She stared, transfixed. Benjamin leaned in. His countenance shifted. That's him. Maya nodded slowly. Richard Holloway. Benjamin's expression sharpened. We require more than mere initials. Maya continued her diligent search. She then unearthed the corresponding correspondence. A digitized draft invitation for a press conference prepared prior to Brooks' conviction, bearing handwritten annotations in the margins. One note, circled in red, read, Ensure conviction before announcement. R.H. attending. Benjamin studied it, then whispered, That is sufficient to compel disclosure. Maya nodded. No. She looked up. It is sufficient to annihilate him. That afternoon, they prepared the legal filing, an emergency motion, an expanded conspiracy complaint, a request for criminal referral, accompanied by the appended evidence directly implicating the mayor. Benjamin read the concluding page. If we submit this, Maya met his gaze. There is no turning back. He nodded once, then affixed his signature alongside hers. They filed the motion at 4:17 p.m. By 5 p.m., the courthouse was plunged into pandemonium. Media vans lined the entire block. Reporters swarmed every ingress point. Political analysts were already proclaiming it the most significant corruption scandal in the city's history. Then, at 6:12 p.m., Mayor Richard Holloway convened a live press conference. Maya and Benjamin observed from their office television. The mayor stood behind a lectern at City Hall, composed and in control, flanked by his legal counsel. He addressed the cameras directly. These accusations are baseless, malicious, and politically motivated. Mia folded her arms. Holloway then stated, And while I respect Miss Williams's passion, it is regrettable that youthful ambition has once again conflated accusation with truth. Benjamin muttered, There it is. He was attempting to diminish her, discredit her, portray her as reckless, desperate, and inexperienced, employing the identical tactic Whitmore had utilized. Maya continued to observe. Holloway then offered a faint smile. But unlike others, I will refrain from attacking a young attorney for overstepping. I simply have faith that the truth will exonerate me. He concluded the conference and departed. Maya stared intently at the screen. He's far too tranquil. Benjamin nodded. Because he believes he still possesses a viable option. That evening, Maya departed for home shortly after 10 o'clock. She noticed a black sedan in her rearview mirror, approximately halfway to her destination. It maintained its pursuit through 3 turns, then a 4th. Her pulse accelerated. She retrieved her phone. Benjamin, what is wrong? I am being followed. His voice instantly became sharp. Drive to the nearest police precinct. She executed a sharp turn. The sedan mirrored her maneuver. 2 blocks later, its headlights intensified, closing the gap. Then it forcefully struck her rear bumper. Maya cried out as her steering wheel jolted. The second impact sent her vehicle careening across the intersection. Glass shattered. Metal shrieked. Her vehicle violently collided with a curb, halting with a force that stole her breath. The sedan sped away, vanishing before she could discern its license plate. Minutes later, sirens wailed, lights flashed, and paramedics arrived. Benjamin appeared before they had completed loading her into the ambulance. He grasped her hand. "Are you injured?" Maya, disoriented and bleeding from her forehead, looked at him and uttered the words that both of them already knew to be true. That was not an accident. Benjamin's countenance became like stone. No further doubt. No more veiled warnings. No more attempts at intimidation. The apparatus had crossed the ultimate boundary. They were attempting to end her life now, and as Maya sat in the ambulance, blood streaming down her face, one irrefutable truth settled deep within her being. With absolute clarity, she had inflicted significant damage upon them, so much so that the most influential individuals in the city would sooner see her dead than permit her to speak again. This meant they were perilously close to their objective, and now the sole remaining question was who would falter first. Maya was released from the hospital just after dawn, nursing bruised ribs, requiring stitches above her eyebrow, and with strict medical orders to rest. She disregarded every directive. Benjamin drove her directly to his office. "You ought to be in bed," he insisted. "They attempted to eliminate me. Precisely why you should disappear for 48 hours. Maya turned to face him. "And grant them the opportunity to obliterate the case while I remain in hiding." Benjamin offered no response as he recognized the validity of her assertion. By the time they reached the office, national news outlets had already seized upon the story. Attorney leading corruption probe survives suspected hit-and-run incident. Federal protection requested following crash that raises critical questions. Public sympathy surged overnight. Demonstrators reconvened at City Hall. Civil rights organizations vociferously demanded immediate arrests. Political allies who had staunchly defended Mayor Holloway mere 24 hours prior were now assiduously distancing themselves. Benjamin closed the office door behind them. They committed a critical error. Maya carefully lowered herself into a chair. Indeed, they sought to silence you and inadvertently rendered you seemingly invulnerable. Her phone rang. It was the FBI agent. Maya answered immediately. "We must act without delay," he stated. "The attempted assassination has fundamentally altered the landscape. Washington is authorizing independent federal intervention." Benjamin mouthed the words. "Excellent," the agent continued. "However, for this to be effective, we require your complete evidence dossier and live testimony today. Once this information is made public at the federal level, every individual implicated will abscond." Maya stood, disregarding the discomfort. "Then let us conclude this." By noon, Maya and Benjamin were seated within a secure federal conference room with 3 senior investigators, 2 prosecutors from outside Illinois, and a court reporter. For 4 consecutive hours, Maya meticulously recounted every detail. Whitmore's suppression orders, the concealed witness statement, the storage unit documents, the financial ledgers, the mayor's directives, the compromise federal memorandum, and the attempted murder. Upon her conclusion, the lead prosecutor closed the final folder and addressed her. "Miss Williams, if this evidence is authenticated, this will represent one of the most significant public corruption prosecutions in the state's history." Maya met his gaze. "It will authenticate." The prosecutor nodded. "Then by this evening, we will initiate action." And they did. At 6:40 p.m., federal agents executed raids on City Hall. At 6:52 p.m., they raided the chambers of 2 sitting judges. At 7:05 p.m., Deputy Mayor Thomas Whitaker was apprehended as he departed his residence. At 7:11 p.m., Harold Benton was taken into custody at his country club. And at 7:24 p.m., federal agents arrived at the penthouse residence of Mayor Richard Holloway. Every news network in America broadcast the footage live. Maya and Benjamin watched in silence from their office television. The mayor emerged in handcuffs, still attempting to maintain an air of dignity, still feigning an aura of superiority. The cameras captured what Maya observed. Profound fear. Benjamin exhaled slowly. "It is concluded." Maya stared at the screen. "No." She shook her head. "Not yet." Benjamin looked at her. She pointed to the television. Whitmore was not among the arrested individuals. Her phone rang. An unrecognized number. She answered. Whitmore's voice came through immediately. "You should have perished in that vehicle." Benjamin stiffened. Maya's eyes hardened. So, you orchestrated it. Whitmore emitted a soft chuckle. You still believe this was a political endeavor? Mia stood. What are you referring to? His voice lowered. Holloway was avaricious. Whitaker was feeble. Benton was compromised. But I? A pause. I constructed the legal framework that shielded them all. Maya froze. Benjamin stared at her. Whitmore continued. You presumed that exposing the mayor would be the denouement? His laughter lacked any trace of amusement. I am the architect of their methods for discrediting individuals. The line then went dead. Maya slowly lowered the phone. Benjamin spoke first. He's attempting to flee. She nodded. Annie believes he still possesses leverage. Benjamin grabbed his coat. Then we must locate him before he disappears. Federal marshals traced Whitmore's phone within the hour. Abandoned. Burner. The last signal originated near the old county courthouse annex by the riverfront. Maya insisted on accompanying him. Benjamin argued vehemently for 5 consecutive minutes. She proceeded regardless. By the time they arrived, federal agents had cordoned off the building. Whitmore had barricaded himself within a disused courtroom on the uppermost floor, the very annex where he had commenced his career as a prosecutor. A negotiator engaged for 20 minutes. Whitmore refused all overtures. Then he issued a singular demand. He would consent to speak only with Maya Williams. Benjamin looked at her. Absolutely not. Maya met his gaze. Yes. Federal agents reluctantly concurred. 2 minutes later, Mia entered the deserted courtroom alone. Whitmore stood near the judge's bench. No robe, no vestige of authority, no audience, merely an elderly gentleman in shirt sleeves standing amidst the ruins of his life's accomplishments. He regarded her and offered a faint smile. You are indeed remarkable. Maya stopped 10 feet away. You are finished. Whitmore laughed. You still fail to comprehend power. He gestured around the desolate chamber. Figures like Holloway ascend and descend. Politicians materialize and vanish. But the law? He tapped his chest. Individuals such as myself determine its application. You incarcerated innocent individuals. I maintained order. You shattered lives. I shielded a city from anarchy. Maya stared at him with utter disdain. Whitmore's voice sharpened. Do you imagine your neighborhood could endure even 1 week without individuals like me dictating who holds significance and who does not? That was it. The facade completely dissolved. No veiled language, no pretense, merely unadulterated conviction. Maya stepped closer. You did not protect this city. Her voice cut like shattered glass. You protected men who resembled you, thought like you, and believed that dominion was their inherent right by birth. Whitmore's jaw tightened. You are a neophyte who experienced a singular stroke of fortune. No, Maya countered. I am the woman who brought about your downfall. Silence ensued. Whitmore regarded her, then slowly smiled. Perhaps. He reached into his coat. Agents outside shouted. Weapons were raised through the doorway, but Whitmore merely produced a folded envelope. He tossed it onto the council table. For the moment when you finally comprehend the cost of dismantling men like me. Maya remained motionless. Whitmore gazed at her one final time, then raised both his hands. Federal agents stormed in, forced him to the floor, handcuffed him where he stood, and Raymond Whitmore, the man who had presided over courtrooms for 3 decades, was dragged from the room like every defendant he had ever condescended to. The building erupted in chaos. Reporters swarmed the exterior. Cameras flashed. Benjamin found Maya in the hallway. Are you all right? She nodded slowly, then held up the envelope Whitmore had discarded. Benjamin frowned. What is it? Maya opened it. Inside was a single page, a roster of names, dozens of them, judges, attorneys, financiers, politicians, and at the very bottom, one final name circled in red. A name neither of them recognized. Benjamin read it aloud. Jonathan Voss. Maya stared. Who is that? Benjamin's expression transformed. Then, very slowly, he looked up at her. And for the very first time in the entire conflict, Benjamin Hayes appeared apprehensive. He is the individual who financed all of them. Benjamin did not speak again until they were back inside his office, the doors securely locked. Maya placed Whitmore's list on the table between them. "Inform me of Jonathan Voss's identity." Benjamin stared at the circled name, then slowly sat down. "He is not meant to be publicly acknowledged." Maya crossed her arms. "That is not a response." Benjamin exhaled heavily. "Jonathan Voss is one of the most influential private financiers in the Midwest. He possesses investment conglomerates, infrastructure enterprises, private correctional facilities, campaign funding channels, primarily through shell corporations and holding entities." Maya frowned. "And he financed the network of corruption." Benjamin nodded. "For years, whispers circulated that his capital was behind half the judges and politicians in this city, yet no concrete proof emerged." Maya reread the list. "Whitmore provided us with his name deliberately." Benjamin's expression darkened. "Indeed. Why? Because if Whitmore is incarcerated, he desires the individual above him to face consequences as well." Maya stared at the page. Then she stated quietly, "So, this was never about politics." Benjamin nodded. "It was about commerce." The room fell into silence, because now the entire structure made sense. Unjust convictions, electoral timing, private penal institutions, political coercion, venal judges, suppressed evidence, financial resources. It had all ultimately traced back to money. Maya sat down slowly. "Leonard Brooks was not convicted due to his guilt." "No," Benjamin stated. "He was convicted because influential individuals required a conviction prior to an election and because one additional black defendant behind bars generated revenue for those funding the operation." Mia's jaw tightened. The sheer depravity of it permeated deeply. Her father, Leonard Brooks, countless others, lives irrevocably damaged because injustice had become a profitable enterprise. Benjamin studied the list again. "If Voss is indeed connected to all of this, bringing down Whitmore and Holloway will be inconsequential unless we also bring him down." Maya met his gaze. "Then we shall." Benjamin immediately shook his head. "Absolutely not." Maya frowned. "No. Whitmore. Holloway. The judges. We possessed evidence, documents, eyewitness accounts, financial paper trails." He tapped the circled name concerning Voss. "We have a name on a document from a disgraced judge. That is insufficient." Maya understood the correctness of his statement, but she also apprehended something else. Whitmore had not inscribed that name without purpose. He intended for them to understand who had constructed the entire system. Benjamin nodded. "Precisely. Then somewhere proof must exist." Before Benjamin could respond, Maya's phone rang. An unfamiliar number. She answered cautiously. A woman's voice spoke, low and controlled. "Miss Williams." "Yes. My name is Evelyn Cross. I represent Jonathan Voss." Maya and Benjamin exchanged a significant look. The woman continued. "He is aware that Whitmore divulged his identity to you." Maya's grip tightened. "What does he desire?" "An overture. He wishes to convene." Benjamin mouthed the word, "Never." Maya ignored him. "When?" "This evening. 9 p.m. Voss Tower, uppermost floor." The line went dead. Benjamin erupted the moment she lowered the phone. "Unacceptable. He aims to negotiate. He seeks to gauge the extent of the threat. It is equivalent." Benjamin stood. "You absolutely cannot enter the premises of a billionaire linked to organized corruption, especially after a substantial portion of his network has been apprehended." Maya looked at him calmly. "That is precisely why I will enter." At 8:57 p.m., Maya entered Voss Tower. Federal agents requested surveillance capabilities. Voss's legal representatives obstructed them by invoking private property regulations. Consequently, Maya proceeded alone. The elevator ascended to the uppermost level. As the doors parted, Jonathan Voss stood awaiting her. He was in his late 60s, impeccably attired, with silver hair and an unruffled demeanor, the very embodiment of a man who appeared less like a criminal and more like a university benefactor. He offered a polite smile. "Miss Williams." Maya stepped out. You requested an audience? He gestured toward his office. I wish to meet the woman who dismantled half my city in less than a week. She remained standing. Voss poured himself a drink. I presume Whitmore provided you with my designation. He did. And now you surmise I am the architect of all these machinations. Maya maintained his gaze. Are you not? Voss smiled faintly. No. He stepped closer. I am the individual who finances systems. Other individuals determine their application. You financed corruption. I financed influence. He offered a correction. There exists a distinction. Maya's voice hardened. Convey that to the innocent individuals interred by your influence. Voss studied her. Then he sighed. Young people invariably believe that corruption originates with malevolent individuals operating in clandestine settings. That is not the case. He placed his glass down. It commences when citizens demand order, security, prosperity, and convenience concurrently. Individuals such as Holloway and Whitmore merely provided what the electorate desired. You profited from it. Yes, he responded without a hint of shame. Because I comprehend what this nation truly valorizes. Silence followed. Then Voss stepped closer. You have accomplished something truly extraordinary, Miss Williams. Truly remarkable. He opened a file on his desk and slid it toward her. Contained within were documents, employment agreements, board appointments, invitations to speak, partnership proposals, and compensation figures amounting to millions. Maya stared. What is this? My offer? She looked up. Voss smiled. You possess brilliance, an absence of fear and public adoration, and why squander such attributes by becoming another embittered reformer, decrying a system too formidable to dismantle? He tapped the papers. Join it instead. Maya emitted a single, incredulous laugh. You believe I can be swayed by monetary gain? No, Voss stated calmly. I believe everyone can be persuaded when the proposition is sufficiently honest. She closed the folder. Keep your wealth. Voss's expression remained unchanged. Then perhaps not for your own benefit. He slid another file across the desk. Maya opened it and froze. Photographs. Her mother exiting church. Benjamin entering his office. Leonard Brooks at home with his family. Surveillance imagery. Detailed recent activity. Voss's voice remained steady. You misunderstand me, Miss Williams. This is no longer a matter of bribery. Maya looked up slowly. It is the final gesture of goodwill I extend before this situation becomes unduly unpleasant. Her voice lowered. You are issuing threats against my family. No. He smiled faintly. I am merely educating you on the ramifications. Maya stared at him, then slowly stood. You have committed a singular error this evening. Voss tilted his head. Which error? She held up the surveillance file. You have just provided me with incontrovertible proof. For the first time his smile faltered. Maya turned and walked toward the door. Voss's voice pursued her. If you disclose this publicly, no institution will be able to offer you protection. She paused at the elevator, then looked back. Her voice was chillingly cold. They uttered the same pronouncement regarding Whitmore. She walked out. By midnight, federal prosecutors were in possession of the surveillance file. By dawn, emergency warrants had been issued. By noon, Jonathan Voss was apprehended on charges including racketeering, witness intimidation, conspiracy, and obstruction of justice. The nation erupted in astonishment. The vast network of corruption, a web that ensnared a wealthy industrialist, a sitting mayor, federal jurists, state prosecutors, law enforcement brass, and prominent legal practitioners, was brought to light by a 24-year-old attorney of color, hailing from the south side of Chicago. That evening, Mia stood in her office, the city's illuminated panorama her sole companion. Benjamin entered unobtrusively. It's concluded, he announced. Mia countered with a shake of her head. Not quite. Benjamin's brow furrowed. What remains? Mia's gaze fell upon the final document in her grasp, a compilation of records extracted from Whitmore's private journal. A multitude of names, a litany of convictions, countless lives still submerged in oblivion. She met Benjamin's eyes, her words resonating with a profound transformation. "We did not endure this arduous struggle merely to vindicate one man." Benjamin observed her, a slow smile spreading across his face, devoid of apprehension, brimming with admiration. He comprehended her unspoken declaration. Their endeavor had transcended mere exposure. It had unlocked the gates for a complete societal overhaul. The timid neophyte who had first entered Whitmore's courtroom had vanished, replaced by a formidable presence that would forever instill apprehension in those who wielded unchecked influence. 3 weeks later, the initial hearing concerning wrongful convictions post-scandal convened. Courtroom 7B buzzed with renewed activity, yet this time, silence greeted Maya Williams' entrance. The whispers ceased, the dismissive glances evaporated. A profound respect emanated from every individual present: attorneys, journalists, court personnel, and even the assembled observers. They rose in unison as she approached. Maya paused, a fleeting moment of stillness. She remained rooted, recalling 3 weeks prior when laughter had filled that same chamber as a judge vowed her undoing. Now the same space observed a reverent quietude. Benjamin leaned in, his voice a low murmur. "Don't become accustomed to it." A faint smile touched her lips as she proceeded to the counsel table. The proceedings concluded swiftly, under 20 minutes, resulting in the nullification of another conviction. This was followed by another 2 days hence, and a further one the subsequent week. Whitmore's ledger had indeed unsealed the deluge. Review panels were constituted, special prosecutors appointed, and past convictions meticulously re-examined. Families who had languished for decades, convinced their pleas would never be heard, witnessed the reopening of judicial doors. Everywhere Maya ventured, individuals approached her. Outside courthouses, on public thoroughfares, at fueling stations, within places of worship. Some wept, others embraced her, while many simply clasped her hand, expressing their gratitude for her unwavering perseverance. National media outlets extended invitations for interviews, academic institutions offered speaking engagements, and 3 prestigious law firms presented lucrative partnership opportunities exceeding her mother's lifetime earnings. Maya declined all overtures. 2 months after Jonathan Voss's apprehension, she stood at the heart of Southside Chicago, witnessing the installation of a new edifice bearing the inscription Williams Justice Center. An eruption of applause greeted the gathering crowd. Her mother, tears streaming, stood at the forefront. Leonard Brooks stood by her side, while Benjamin observed from the periphery, arms crossed, a look of quiet pride gracing his countenance. A reporter stepped forward. "Miss Williams, with your distinguished qualifications and public recognition, you could pursue opportunities anywhere in the nation. Why establish a legal aid center here?" Maya surveyed the assembled faces, the community that had nurtured her, the streets where children too soon learned the precariousness of systemic protection for individuals who resembled them. Her response was clear. "Because the people here believed in me long before anyone else did." The crowd applauded. Maya continued, "As a child, this community imparted a profound lesson that justice holds no meaning if it remains accessible only to the affluent." She gestured towards the building behind her. "Therefore, if the legal system has failed this community for generations," her voice steadied, "this is precisely where I will begin to rectify that." The ceremonial ribbon was severed, the doors swung open, and the Williams Justice Center commenced serving clients that very afternoon. Months elapsed. Then, on a crisp December morning, Maya received a call from federal prosecutors. Jonathan Voss had agreed to full cooperation, implicating judges, senators, business magnates, and government officials. The investigation had broadened exponentially, extending far beyond Chicago's confines. What Maya had initiated had become a national movement. Later that day, Benjamin entered her office bearing coffee. "You grasp the magnitude of what you've accomplished, don't you?" Maya looked up from the stack of new case files on her desk. "I've opened a law office." Benjamin chuckled. "No. You have demonstrably proven something this nation desperately needed to witness." Maya leaned back. "And that is?" Benjamin regarded her for a protracted moment. "That institutions appear immutable until an individual ceases to fear them." A contemplative silence ensued. Maya's gaze drifted to a framed photograph on her shelf. Her mother, clad in janitorial attire, holding the very fountain pen Maya had carried into every courtroom. The pen now rested amongst her legal documents, its worn inscription a testament to its enduring significance. Her office telephone chimed. The receptionist connected the next client. A young mother of color entered, her teenage son's hand clasped tightly. Apprehension was etched plainly on her face. "Miss Williams," she began softly, "they said you assist individuals like us." Maya rose, walked around her desk, and extended her hand. "Yes, ma'am," she affirmed. "That is precisely why I'm here." Late that evening, long after the office had emptied, Maya stood alone outside the building. Gentle snowflakes drifted across the thoroughfare. The city pulsed around her, altered, not entirely mended, but transformed. Corruption had not evaporated. Power had not suddenly embraced rectitude, nor had injustice vanished with the resolution of a single case. She understood this intimately. The battle would continue throughout her lifetime, and so would she. Benjamin joined her outside. "Do you ever reflect on that initial day in Whitmore's courtroom?" he inquired. Maya offered a faint smile. "Occasionally." Benjamin slipped his hands into his coat pockets. "He genuinely believed he could crush you." Maya's gaze swept across the street before she quietly responded, "He nearly did." Benjamin shook his head. "No. He forged the very individual capable of his undoing." Maya remained silent, a part of her acknowledging the truth in his words. Judge Whitmore had perceived in the young black woman from an impoverished background someone easily subjugated. He had mistaken her humility for weakness, her inexperience for inferiority, and her silence for capitulation. He had challenged her publicly, convinced that authority resided with men like himself, never envisioning that the woman before him would orchestrate his downfall. Maya glanced upward at the sign adorning the building one final time. Williams Justice Center. Her thoughts then turned to Leonard Brooks, to her father, to every innocent soul crushed by the apparatus, to every child growing up in neighborhoods akin to her own, questioning if justice was a concept reserved for others. A silent vow formed within her. No child who crossed her threshold would ever again harbor such a belief. Benjamin observed her. "What are you contemplating?" Maya smiled, then voiced the unvarnished truth. "That power perpetually presumes its eternal dominion." She fixed her gaze on the distant courthouse skyline, then added, "Until truth enters the room. And this time, truth has learned how to fight." This narrative serves as a potent reminder that justice prevails only when courageous individuals refuse to remain silent. Authority often cloaks itself in titles, affluence, and institutional structures. However, no system is impregnable when truth is championed by someone resolute enough to defend it. Maya's journey unequivocally demonstrates that one's origins do not dictate one's destiny. Furthermore, a single determined individual can confront even the most formidable establishment by prioritizing principle over apprehension. Ultimately, malevolence endures not due to its inherent strength, but because an excessive number of people choose silence. Genuine transformation commences the moment an individual resolves to act.
In the end, the truth always comes out.